Next thing I'm going to do is record a voiceover for this commercial. I'm just gonna make it up as I go. But I want to be able to watch. I want to be able to watch this commercial while I'm recording my voiceover. So right now, with this project sitting as it is, I'm going to export my commercial. So talk me through that for a second. We're going to do one that's really compressed so it's nice and easy for the computer to play it back. What's the key command? Remember? Command M. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just do something really quick and easy. This match source high bit rate is fine except for its full resolution, and I don't want to do full resolution. I'm just going to do a 960 by 540 because it'll export a little bit quicker. I don't need to do maximum render depth. I don't need maximum render quality or any of that stuff. I just need to get this out quickly so that I can use it in my audio recording software. Oh, I didn't select where that was going to go, so I'm going to have to find it after. All right, so while that's exporting, let's open up Audition. Audition is the audio editing program that Adobe has. Adobe bought Cool Edit a really long time ago, and then it became Audition. Cool Edit was a really good wave editor. Okay, so the first thing we have to do, this is Audition, and it kind of follows a pretty similar workflow. This is your project panel. This is where you import all your assets and you kind of keep track of all your audio assets and video assets up here. And then down here you have an effects rack. You have a media browser and properties and all that stuff. You have your history. You have I've got a little video panel right here that I can watch my video. And then over here, this is where you do your editing. There's two different kinds of editing in Audition. One is where you edit the audio file directly. So if you erase a part of it, turn the volume up or down, add an effect, and then hit save, it will physically change the audio file on your computer. Okay. It also has, that's called destructive editing. It also has a multi-track editor, which is non-destructive editing like Premiere. So you can put portions of audio files down, add effects and all that stuff, and it doesn't change the files on your computer, but you can export a file and then have what's called a mix down to put into your Premiere project. So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to make a mix down. So first of all, I'm going to make a multi-track session, and I'm going to call this commercial audio. And where am I going to save that? On my hard drive in my bank commercial project under Audition. Okay, I'm going to choose that. I could do 32-bit float or 24 or 16. Your final output for your video is going to be 16 bits, so if you want to record at 32 or 24 you can. You'll get a higher quality recording. However, I'm going to be using the microphone on this computer itself, so it really doesn't matter what bit rate I record this at, because it's not going to sound that good anyway. Alright, so if I click OK there, then tab back over to Finder, I can show you that it created in the Audition commercial audio, and there's my commercial audio SESX. That's the Session X file. So if you need to get back into Audition and reopen it, that's the file you chase after right there. All right, so let's record a new file. There's two different ways we can do that. We can either do that from the waveform editor, where we'll create a new audio file. I'm going to cancel that. Or we can do it from this track recording. The cool thing about arming tracks for recording, so if I had a bunch of audio files open here, I could bring them in here, and I could have multiple tracks with clips being cut all over the place that would start to look similar to your timeline here with lots of clips on it. Okay, so that's what will happen up there. Cool thing about arming tracks is if you had a multiple channel recorder or a left and right recorder with one microphone or two separate microphones with two different people, you could have one track record one person while the other track is recording the other person, and you can have simultaneous recording of different things. So if you had an audio card that had multiple inputs, then you could use Audition to record like a band, or with vocals and instruments, and have them all be their own separate audio file so that you can mix it and master it for audio mastering. All right, so let's just check. Let's just right now, as you can see, as I'm talking along, this meter is bouncing. So lucky for me, I've already got my audio settings at a place for this internal microphone that this isn't bouncing up and these aren't touching red. If these were going red, then you would want to go into your system preferences, and then in your audio settings, go to your input and just turn this down a little bit until whatever volume you were talking at prevented this from bouncing all the way up into the red. Because when that bounces up into the red, that's called peaking. And peaking is actually when the audio gets too loud for the system to be able to accurately play it, and then you start losing sound information. So peaking is bad, no peaking, that's why it's red. All right, so right now, if I just click on this record, this shift space is the key command, but if I click record, then as I'm talking along, see those waveforms being left behind? That's my voice. And then if I hit spacebar, I can hit home, and then I can play it back. And as I'm talking along, see those waveforms being left behind? That's my voice. Okay, so that's the easiest way. If you go over to your system preferences and go to input, your internal microphone on these Macs is it. If you have the use of your headphones that have the microphones on them, then you'll need to change that to it's probably this C Media USB audio device is probably that. Is probably that microphone on those headphones. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to use the microphone on this computer.
What was it? Spacebar? What was that command?
Shift space?
Oh.
Yeah. Or you could just click on the red record button. All right, so if I save my project right now, it's, well, by default, Audition is when as soon as I hit record, Audition created a folder right next to the project file called Commercial Audio Recorded. So there's the first track right there. That's that audio file I just recorded on track 1. So if I wanted to change track 1 and called this Scott VO, then if I hit record again, this is a test of the Scott VO name track. Hit spacebar to stop it. Suddenly there's the Scott VO .wav. This is a test of the Scott VO name. Now at this point I could, if I wanted, go over to Premiere and then just drop this straight into Premiere like that. Blam. From Finder, you can just drop them straight down onto the timeline, and it imports it into the project. And I can time this so that this is a test of the Scott VO name track. Okay. So just for fun, let's try making a sound effect. If I right click on this, I can go to Reveal Clip in Files panel, and then reveal this in Finder. So there it is, highlighted. Go to Premiere, toggle back over to Finder, drop that down here, and then if I expand this, I can see that waveform. And watch this shovel full of dirt go. All right, so that was fun, right? So that's where the files are going when you hit record from the multi-track. If I go to waveform, do the same thing there, and then if I click File, New, Audio File, then I can do Scott's VO recording, and I can do all those settings again, and then when I click OK, it'll create just a blank audio file. But if I hit record, now I can record my voice and everything's great, right? But now I'm going to have to figure out where this is. See, there's no this Scott's VO recording that I just created. There's no reveal in Finder because it's kind of in the ether right now. So I'm going to have to save this as Scott's VO recording or whatever I want. Make sure it's going where I want it to go. So for me, the less complicated way is to create a multi-track project because I'm going to be editing in multi-track anyway, and then just arm one of these tracks for recording, and then it'll automatically save the WAV files next to the project. Okay. All right, so let's import this video file that I misplaced. I have no idea where I put it. Let me go back over to Premiere and hit Command M again. Where is this? It's in this Premiere folder. Ah, they put it next to the project file. Okay, so I want to make sure I know where all my files are. So let me go to my drive, my folder, my commercial project, Premiere, and I want to maybe chuck this into a little, maybe go up, put it in assets and then create a new folder and call this pre-renders or something. Just put that in there. Okay, now I need to import this video file into Audition. So Command I is import in Audition, just like in Premiere. You could double click here and that opens up the box. You can use Finder to drag and drop. So most of the same methods for importing into Audition exist. So cool thing about this is now if I drag this video file down on to a track, it creates a new video reference track. So I can change the timing of this so that our spot starts at 10 seconds. So we could maybe do it out 10 seconds, but I'm just going to do it 2 seconds so that I can give myself a little bit of a running start. Now let's pretend I have a script written and I'm going to just check my voice for timing against the existing spot. So if I hit record, when I was a young boy, my dad tried to teach me the importance of saving. I didn't really get what he meant by planting my piggy bank in the ground, but My dad has been known to have some pretty funny ideas, much like taking out loans from banks that racked him with all sorts of debt slavery that he's still recovering from today. But whatever. Come open up a bank account today at Blob Bank. All right. So there's my audio recording, and I can now go through here and start cutting this up and editing it using Audition. You already know how to do some editing in Premiere, so I'm going to show you a few different techniques for editing in Audition. We have a blade tool, so as you can imagine, I can place cuts on that. You have a selection tool, which is V. So if I have V, I can left click and just drag these. I can trim them, change the timing of them, all that sort of stuff. T is your time selection tool. The time selection tool will allow you to draw boxes and select everything within time. Cool thing about the time selection tool is if I select this clip in this time and then hit delete, it'll delete that portion of that clip. The time selection tool can double as your move tool if you use your right click. So you can right click on clips and move them. It can also trim. Okay. I actually spend most of my time using my time selection tool because it seems to be the most versatile. So one cool little tip is this little navigator is kind of your thumbnail view of your timeline, so you can scrub back and forth that way and stay zoomed in. This will place your playhead. But with the time selection tool, you can click anywhere and it'll put your playhead there. So that's pretty cool about the time selection tool. If I select a clip, see this little box up here? Remember how before I was like, add a bunch of keyframes and change the volume over time, and this is pretty cool because if I drag this in this way, see that yellow line? That is turning the volume up from 0 to full volume over that time, and you can change the shape of that so that it slopes in differently. So if there's like background noise that you're trying to fade in and out to overlap one another, this is really good for isolating that maybe a little breath that's happening right before someone's talking. There's your attenuation. You also have this right here, which is the same as it is in Premiere. You can click on it to add keyframes, and you can change the volume over time using that rubber band or envelope. Next thing when you're editing, if I were to drag these two clips and I want to bring them closer together, watch what happens. In Premiere, if I drag a clip on top of another clip, it cuts into it, right? The one that you're moving cuts into the one you're putting it over. Well, in Audition, it adds an automatic crossfade if you overlap them. Okay? So if I go over here, the key command for cutting is Command K. So with my playhead here and this clip selected, if I hit Command K, I'll cut that clip. And I just want to compact this space in between these two. Well, just move them closer together. And it'll add a crossfade automatically. That's kind of nice. If I hold down Command and use my wheel on my mouse, it'll zoom in and out. If I hold down Option or Alt and do my wheel, it expands the height or the tallness of the tracks. All right, so that is the basic of actually editing the clips. Now let's add an effect. The difference between Audition and Premiere is you have to add effects to entire tracks. So with this Scott VO track selected, if I put an effect on this track, every clip that shows up on that track is going to adopt that effect. Let me show you what I mean. Down here in my effects rack, I can add multiple effects. So this is kind of like your effects controls panel, but this is also where you can add the effects. So on this top effect, if I click on this little arrow, then I can go to, let's do something weird. Let's do a flanger, because they're really obvious effects. So now if I hit play,
when I was a young boy,
let's turn some of these up a lot.
my dad tried to teach me the importance of saving. I didn't really get.
And it'll do its best to process these in real time. Each one of these has, presets that you can then tweak.
When I was a young boy, my dad.
Okay, that's why I did that effect, because it's really ugly. So one thing I like to do is I like to add this multiband compressor and then use this broadcast compressor. And did I talk about compressors before? Okay, so what it'll do is it'll take the peaks and valleys and bring them closer together to increase the overall appearance, the overall volume, what it appears to be. Like to your ears, it'll sound louder. It'll be louder, but nice thing about this multiband compressor is it has within it a limiter so that you can increase the gain, but it'll try its best to keep you from peaking using it. So if I play this now, it's going to be a lot louder.
When I was a young boy, my dad.
So out here, when this is monitoring, this is your loudness and the volume before the effect, and then below is the volume after the effect. And you can add a whole bunch of them. You can add reverb, you can add like a noise gate, which will try to isolate noise and remove noise. Later this semester, we actually will do some noise reduction, but not right now.
When I was a young boy, my dad tried to teach me the importance of saving. I didn't really get what he meant by.
Okay. So I sound super tinny, but that's this microphone. So I'm not as interested in the quality of your recording, but how well it's balanced with the music, and if you choose to use sound effects, your sound effects. So let me grab some music and put it in. I know that there's some music in oh dear, where did my music go?
Music editing?
Oh yeah, I've got lots of music in there. Okay, it's copywritten, but I'll do something from there. Oh, that's melancholy. All right, let's import that. All right, so
The bright screen, like this really sad music.
all right, so this was sampled from a CD, which means the sample rate is different. Audition will give you a little warning that says it needs to be converted to what the session is in order for this to work. You just say okay, and it'll convert it to this session. Now, if I hit save on this, it's going to say one or more of your files that you're using in this multi-track session exist outside the session folder. Would you like to copy these media into the session folder? Nice thing about audio is it's not very big. Audio, well, unless you're Ray Kimber, then your audio files are huge. But typically your audio is not a very big file. So if you want to make sure that your files are all being contained within your project, even if you copied, which I should have done, even if I had copied that MP3 into the project folder first and then imported it, saying yes here is just a double way of being sure that all your audio files are in your project. So if I go to the commercial project, it's going to be in this commercial audio. These are the imported files. See, it imported the commercial, and there's the all I need conformed file. Okay. All right, so now what I need to do, typically if you're listening to professional recorded music, they have mastered that audio so that it is as loud as possible without peaking. So if you put someone's music in with your voice, it's going to be too loud almost every time, okay? Unless you are buying stock music that's already been mastered to a level to go with voice. But let's have a listen to the balance.
When I was a young boy, my dad tried to teach me the importance of saving. I didn't really get what he meant by planting my piggy bank in the ground, but my dad has been known to have some pretty funny ideas.
All right, so let's play with this really quick. I'm not going to get too crazy with it, but I want to start my commercial on this first bigger strum. Okay. So if I just trim that, make it latch up with the beginning.
When I was a young boy, my dad tried to teach me the importance of saving. I didn't really get what he meant by planting my piggy bank in the ground.
Okay, so that's getting too loud there. This actually is okay at the beginning, so when that singing starts in, I'm going to drop that down to like -11.
I didn't really get what he meant by planting my piggy bank in the ground, but my dad has been known to have some pretty funny ideas, much like taking out loans from banks that racked him with all sorts of debt slavery that he's still recovering from today. But whatever, come open up a bank account today at Blob Bank.
All right.
Slavery that he's...
Okay, let me. I'm gonna do a little audio cut here. There's a lot of stuff you can get away with commercials, but typically you're going to want to find an even count of 8 to cut music on. That's great. Just let's end it on that. So I'm going to trim this back. See what this said. All right. Let's see what this is doing here. Let's just try to do a really rough music
slavery
cut.
That he's still recovering from today. But whatever, come open up a bank account today at Blob Bank.
All right. All right, here's a cool thing. Remember the slip tool? If you hold down Command and Alt with this time selection tool, okay, I'll create a duplicate of it. If I hold down just Alt and then right click in there, it'll slip, do a slip edit for me.
Just Alt?
Just Alt, yeah. All right, you can time stretch. For those of you who might want to slow it down, you can go to your properties and you can go to stretching and you can make it go slower or faster, and you can pitch it up or pitch it down, make them sound like chipmunks or just have them sound like they're singing faster than they should. Last thing I'm going to do here just to show you, this is your panner, so if you move that it'll go all left or all right. I'm going to add keyframe here so that when I'm done talking, I can hear that "Why'd you leave me" nice and loud.
Blob bank.
All right. Okay, I need to get this out of Audition. All this stuff I'm doing, you can do in Premiere. So if you only want to use Audition to get your recording done, you can do your recording in Premiere too. I just want to show you Audition because it's got a lot of power. Now I need to get this out of Audition. So one easy way for me is I select all these clips that I'm actually using, and if I right click on them and select Mix Down Session to New File and do Selected Clips, then it will export because my clips are going from here to here, fitting right in my 30-second space. If I export selected clips, whoops, I want to do just a mix down session to new file, selected clips. Bam, there's my audio. Now from here, because I actually still have some room, I could just change the volume to try and maximize that a little bit more. Now if I hit save, commercial audio mixdown, this is a good one to put in my assets folder. So if I go to my bank commercial project, assets, audio, save, click OK, there it goes. At this point I'm going to quit Audition. So I'm going to say yes, save it, yes, save it, just yes to all. All right. Now I need to import this into my project, my video editing project. So if I'll go to Recent Places, my commercial audio mixdown is right there. Click Import, go to my project panel, and there's my commercial audio. Now because I made that exactly 30 seconds, I ought to be able to just drop it right there at the beginning and it'll be good. I'm going to turn this sound effect down. I definitely want to keep it. Now let's watch it.
When I was a young boy, my dad tried to teach me the importance of saving. I didn't really get what he meant by planting my piggy bank in the ground, but my dad has been known to have some pretty funny...
That just fell right in between a line. That was awesome.
It sounded like you squished an orange.
What would be really funny is if like I added other ones like spring sounds, boing boing. You know, so he's patting it, or, yeah, slushing sounds as their feet are hitting, squish squish. All right.
It's some Foley sound.
So that is a good introduction to using Audition. If you guys are really interested in it, we'll spend a little bit more time in it. But if you are really liking it, we'll spend a lot of time in it if you want to.